Happy Holy Hump Day on this July 29th. I'm Pastor Robert, and welcome to this midweek time of sharing some church news about Athens First United Methodist, and also sharing some spiritual thoughts and reflections. It's always good to spend time with you each week through this video. I wanted to begin by talking a little bit about this past Sunday's Psalm of the Week, which was Psalm 128. It's been part of our Summer of Psalms series, looking at a psalm each week. And Psalm 128, as I mentioned in the sermon this past Sunday, is known as a song of ascent. And I mentioned that there are 14 of these songs of ascent that the ancient Israelites would have sung from their homes during the long journey into Jerusalem. And they would have traveled to Jerusalem to attend three religious festivals each year during the different seasons of the year. And they would have gathered with people from all over. They would have come from many different directions. And what I didn't mention in my sermon, because you can't say everything, I guess, in one sermon, but what I find interesting is the reason it's called a song of ascent is that they literally were ascending, no matter what direction they were coming into Jerusalem, they would have been ascending up to where Jerusalem, the city, was located, because Jerusalem is up on a hill. And so that's why these are called songs of ascent. As they were ascending, they would have been seeing the temple off on the distance, and then they would finally make their way into the city of Jerusalem. And one of the songs of ascent, which is one that is a favorite of many people's, this is one that I've been asked to read at different funerals especially. And it's really a psalm that has been a personal favorite of mine, just in general circumstances in life. It's Psalm 121, and it begins with these words: I lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. And it's that first verse of Psalm 121 that reminds us why these are called songs of ascent, because it says, I lift up my eyes to the hills. And so that definitely shows that this was something that would have been said as people were going up the hill to Jerusalem. I lift up my eyes to the hills. And I mean, literally, it means that they were walking up this hill. But also metaphorically, as we think about the Lord up above. So anyway, I thought that was just something that you would like to think about to continue this conversation about the songs of ascent. And like I said, there are 14 of these, and Psalm 121, which is a favorite of many people, because this song, Psalm 128, actually ends, it's only 8 verses, and the 8th verse says, the Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. So these are familiar verses. It's a familiar psalm. So I just wanted to use that psalm as a way to show that these were literally songs of ascent. So much we can learn about the Psalms. This Sunday, it's going to be Psalm 17, which is probably not many people's favorite psalms, one that's maybe unfamiliar, but one that I think can still speak to us today. So I invite you to be part of our online worship service this Sunday, August 2nd. We're also going to be celebrating the sacrament of Holy Communion, since it's the first Sunday of the month when we traditionally celebrate the sacrament, and I will be offering the words of communion as part of that online worship service. And as long as you have some grape juice and bread handy in your homes for that time, we will be able to celebrate Holy Communion together. So I do want you to know about Holy Communion this Sunday. Also, just want to talk a little bit about some church news. I often don't have the opportunity to talk about the United Methodist Church and how we're connected as Athens First to the United Methodist Church. But I want to spend just a minute or two talking about that here. So being part of the United Methodist denomination means that we're a connectional church. We're not just our own individual church. We are connected to the other United Methodist churches. So we are in the West Ohio Conference, and that consists of 1,000 United Methodist churches. And it takes up about 2/3 of the state of Ohio. And every year in early June, representatives from these 1,000 churches There's clergy representatives, and then there are lay people from each of these churches that represent their churches, totaling up to close to 3,000 people. They will travel up to Lakeside, Ohio, just there on Lake Erie, and for a week we will worship together. It's very inspiring when you hear 3,000 United Methodists singing, "Oh, 4,000 tongues to sing," and other great hymns of faith. So in a way, that's kind of like these songs of ascent that we've been focusing on, because we're all traveling up to Lakeside, Ohio to be together as one people. And so we are a connectional church. And yesterday, I was part of a clergy session that normally would have been held as part of annual conference, but because of COVID-19, we needed to have a Zoom online meeting. So there were 653 clergy as part of that Zoom meeting yesterday, and Bishop Palmer is our bishop, and he presides over that meeting. And I just thought there were some statistics that were shared, and we voted on some of these things, but I just wanted you to be aware that in our West Ohio Conference, which consists of 1,000 United Methodist churches, there are 340 elders like myself who serve in full-time roles at these different churches, 340 elders. And then there are what's called 23 deacons. And deacons are also ordained, but they have a more specialized ministry of service. And we also have 99 full-time local pastors, and we have 211 part-time local pastors. And they have some different educational requirements than elders or deacons, but they serve, a lot of these folks would be bivocational, so they have their full-time job and then they add this as well. But if you're a full-time local pastor, you do focus just on the ministry part. So I just find that interesting. 340 elders, 23 deacons, 99 full-time local pastors, 211 part-time local pastors. Our own Rick Sider, who's on staff here as our congregational care director, is one of those 211 part-time local pastors. And so every year we have people that get ordained and they become part of the clergy of the West Ohio Conference. And this year we have 4 deacons who are being ordained and 8 elders that are being ordained. And I wanted you to know that one of those deacons is actually a member of the Korean congregation that meets here at Athens First, Sung Young Lee. He is being ordained as a deacon. He has helped with our Athens First Saturday outreach on the first Saturday of each month. And it's been neat to see how he has been connected to our own congregation and the partnership that we have with the Korean congregation. Also, some more information based on yesterday's meeting with the clergy session. We have 22 elders who are retiring, 22 elders, and one of them is Reverend Tom Hanover, who served here as senior pastor, I think in the early 2000s. So Pastor Tom is retiring, and we lift him up in prayer. And then I just want to mention about apportionments. So in order to be a connectional church, there needs to be some funding to help make that happen. And apportionments are the amount that each church is expected to pay into the West Ohio Conference so that ministries and missions can happen beyond our local church. And these apportionments are often referred to as our first mile missions giving. And they really encourage us to pay this first before we give our money to mission work beyond these apportionments. And the apportionment dollars are figured based on a formula of 2/3 what our budget is and 1/3 what our membership is. And so that's figured each year based on the statistics we send in from each local church. So for example, our church here at Athens First, we send in $54,000 each year to help there be ministries and support mission work through the West Ohio Conference. And so I want to thank you for being a congregation that has long supported the apportionment giving. We pay 100% each year, so thank you for being that kind of church. And even during this COVID-19 kind of year where our church has been, the building has been closed for several months now, we still are paying 100% of our apportionments. We pay this in a monthly way. And I want to thank you again for helping us to stay strong during this time. Thanks to your faithful financial giving, so that we can still be part of the connectional church and help out the conference. And I know there are several churches that have had to hold back their giving to apportionments because of financial strain that they're experiencing because of COVID-19 and their church buildings being very limited. So we are able to pay 100%, and thank you for that. So anyway, just wanted you to know about some of these things that are happening. We also have the annual conference beyond the clergy session, which I had yesterday. There's the annual conference that will also be a Zoom online meeting September 12th. Martha Sloan is our lay delegate representing our church. I will be part of that, and we will be having that in September. So very different this year to not travel up to Lakeside with the other 3,000 United Methodists singing our songs of ascent along the way. But it is amazing what we can do with this new technology. So look forward to seeing you as part of our online worship service this upcoming Sunday with our focus on Psalm 17. May God bless you as you continue through your week, and stay in touch and be blessed.